Our ancestors built the first city as a beacon of peace on Earth. And it almost was. Until one night, an unseen force plucked it from the very face of the Earth and placed it under unfamiliar stars. It was a bountiful world with no sign of civilization. A world we named Paragon. With no way to return home, we adapted. New governments were built from the seeds of our past, and with them grew new ways of life. But the vices of old still festered. Organized crime bled out from the shadows and took root, preying on the foundation of our new home. But this world had one more surprise in store. A mysterious element in the atmosphere that gave a fraction of the population superhuman abilities. Under the leadership of the city's first hero, the Age of Legends had begun. 300 years later, Paragon thrives under the protection of its champions. And yet, the shadows of the past still linger. When darkness rises, it will fall to the next generation of young heroes to defend the first city. Welcome to First City, the show where everything always goes exactly according to plan. So before we jump into this week's episode,
Indeed.
I just want to remind you guys that on itch.io, you can find Panels and Powers, the system created specifically for this game that powers this game to test out yourself and let us know how you like it. There's a link to that below. And you can also find all of the wonderful music that you hear in this show on Bandcamp as well, which there is also a link to. Those are my only announcements. So otherwise, I simply say, previously on the First City. After your very harrowing but ultimately triumphant fight with Helix, not against Helix, but with Helix against Blackjack, you were confronted with Tonitrus, who did not chastise you, but instead brought you back to campus for some very late night impromptu training, in which we saw some vignettes of things that you all accomplished during the week. Which leads us to this moment, the very next day, the next morning, in fact. We pan across campus on a much warmer, brighter day than the previous sort of gray evening that we had encountered before. We trail over to the administrative tower, glistening silver in the center of campus as people are bustling around on their way to classes or training. We pan inside through the lobby and up, just a couple levels higher, to a plush sort of lobby area, where we find Jeremy seated by himself, waiting for an appointment that he had to keep. You've been waiting there for not terribly long, maybe 10 minutes. And it's not a very crowded day. In fact, you're the only person waiting in this specific lobby area. It actually is sort of less of a lobby and more of like just sort of a communal area where there are seats and tables and magazines, where all around it are the hallways where there are different doors to like other offices around here. And this is a part of campus that you haven't actually, well, a part of the administrative tower that you haven't actually been to yet. And after this sort of period of 10 minutes passes, a nearby door opens and out steps a very tall woman dressed in a white blouse with a dark navy blue blazer over it, long jet black hair, straight, just sort of cascading down past her shoulders, with just like very, very pale face and bright red lips and huge blue eyes as she smiles at you and sort of takes a couple steps closer. And she stumbles over herself for a second and catches herself. Goes, oh, sorry about that. Jeremy Johnson, right?
I hate to ruin that characterization, but I think that after waiting like 2 or 3 minutes, Jeremy would have grabbed some of those magazines and like kind of scattered them, put one on the back of his head and lay down face down and pretend that he was dead.
Then she looks down, she goes, oh, shame, why didn't anyone tell me that he's dead? Well, I guess I'll just have to drag you. I'm kidding, I'm not going to drag you. I don't do that.
Oh, what a shame. You've seen through my clever disguise, and he'll just kind of get up and he'll not put back any of the magazines. He'll just start walking.
Magazines are just falling off of him as he walks.
Yeah.
Incredible.
She takes a couple steps and she sees that happen and she goes, right, that is a really funny bit, but I am actually going to pick those up because I'm going to pick those up. And she starts to like put them back. And as she's doing so, she goes, so Jeremy, I'm Dr. Claire Mary. It's very nice to meet you. Sorry I couldn't meet you earlier. I've been a bit busy, but not so busy that I didn't have it pressed upon me the importance of the situation. So whenever you're ready, we'll just have a little looky-loo in my office and we'll have a little chat.
I'm ready now.
Well, good. That's what you love to hear. So she walks you into her office and she closes the door, takes a seat at her desk. And she actually doesn't really fold her hands like professionally on the desk like you've seen other people do before. She just sort of sits in her chair and takes this very bird-like sort of posture as she looks you sort of in the face and like turns her head a little bit. And as these big eyes and this big smile are just sort of like pressing down on you with this energy of this person, you find that it is kind of hard to age her. Like you can imagine that she could be anywhere between like 30 and 45. But she has a very youthful sort of unlined face. And there's this little awkward moment where she's just smiling at you and she goes, right. No good way to cut through the various elephants in this room. So I'm just going to put the ball in your court, so to speak. And I'd just like to know, first of all, how you're doing. How are you adjusting?
Better than one would expect when you have a government that's probably trying to kill them.
Wow, bleak. And still with the humor as well, which I appreciate. I'm no stranger to it, but I do wonder if you're... Well, it's really no matter. I'd like to know, first of all, what it is that you're looking for here. I mean, here specifically with our meeting. Now, you know that I am technically a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, and first and foremost, the sort of on-call psychic for any sort of mind-related mishaps that might occur and occur a little more often than you might think in a setting like this. So, you know, good to have one of me around. Be good to have a few more, but we can't all be Pantheon. So, I understand that you are missing quite a significant little chunk of memory. And
Yep.
That's concerning for a lot of people, myself included. So what I'd like to know is, what exactly would you like me to do about that? Because there are options that we could take.
Well, I mean, it would be great if I could remember all of the stuff that happened. That's pretty much the whole shebang-a-bang. I just want to know why I woke up face down in a warehouse, because I didn't leave face down in a warehouse. And there's not even that many warehouses in First City because space is kind of at a premium, so that's a bit weird.
Hmm. And you see that like those eyes are so bright and studious, and she is just kind of absorbing your whole demeanor here. And there, it's underneath that cheerfulness, but that feeling of being studied is underneath her disarming nature. And someone like you, someone who is keyed into mistrust and awareness of your surroundings, I think you cut to the heart of that very quickly. I think you do pick up on the fact that you are being very much observed in a lot of ways and recorded, not literally, but in her mind. And she goes, yes, no, I completely understand that. I mean, not to the degree that I've ever woken up in a warehouse after a period of prolonged stasis of some kind. And that is what we know so far. We've got a sort of understanding that you haven't changed physically since, where you left off before the event and all that good stuff. So really, that's good to know that you're ready to dive in. And I'll lay it on thick for you. I can just do that. I can look in there right now, just take a preliminary glance and see what's going on. But before I do that, I do need you to understand, I'm not sure how many telepaths you've met in your life before.
Would I have met any telepaths in the PDP?
Maybe. They're usually they would be on a different track than you were. I would say that type of power is a little different utility than yours. But you would have known about some.
Maybe not. Never had them work on me, minus Fortress the first day. But other than that, nah.
Well, let me be the first to tell you then. It's not like it works in the movies. You see, they always depict telepathy as something where the mind is a place. It's a place you can go. We have to go into your mind. We have to look at it and fish around. And frankly, that's just not how it works. Now, perception is at the will of the perceiver in any scenario. What I do is not to go into your mind, nor is it to read your mind, because the thing about it is it's not a book either. It's not a place. It's not a book. It's a complex network of electrical pathways and information. And you can't just sort of read that. You have to interpret it. You're not thinking in full sentences all the time, are you? No. So I'm not just going to hear full sentences. So what I do is I connect your pathways to mine, so that I can perceive the things that I need to from you. And in order for that to work, I need to help you sort of click your mind into a structuring tool. Now that manifests differently for many people. For some, it's a train or a plane, taking them to their various pieces of their mind and memories that we can lock onto. For others, it's more of a location. For some, it's more comfortable to sort of imagine a grand library or some sort of collection, some gathering of information, so we can structure where we can look, compartmentalize the segments of your life. Part of my job is to get you comfortable with finding out what that is for you, so that it is then easier for me to guide myself around to the things I need to find, or rather the things that you would like for me to find. Does that make sense to you?
I could dig it.
So there's really no, just from the sake of like my power, there's no real risk to you. You can't really be hurt by this. The only disclaimer that I'm going to give you is, first of all, I'm going to see things in your mind and, from you that are private, and of course I'm going to ignore the things that are not, particularly relevant to what we're trying to do here. I'm just going to be looking for that specific chunk of information. You're missing months, right? But the second thing is, we don't know what was done to you. We know you were in some kind of stasis, but that's all we've got. So we might find something in there, but I want to assure you I'm the best person here to deal with it. Actually, I might be the only person here to deal with it, and that's why you're here. So I think that's enough technical talk. Are you comfortable? Are you good? Are you ready for me to sort of do it?
Okay. Yes, but I need a bit of a reassurance going into this thing. See, we have there's like a doctor patient confidentiality thingy here going, right?
Well, that's a little tricky, you see, because I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of this is, yes, your memories, the confidentiality of your memories is implicit in what I do, in my profession, in my moral code and ethics, not only, personally, but on paper, legally, yes, of course. But if I find something that is illuminating a danger to this school or to the city, I'm not going to pretend that you're not connected to whatever it is that's going on, right? And so if I see something that Fortress needs to know about, you see where I'm going with this?
I do. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Doc. Not that I haven't been completely honest to everybody else, but I haven't told everybody the whole truth yet. Not because, well, let's just say that if everything I know got out, that innocent people associated with me could get very, very hurt.
Well, Jeremy, I don't believe that any person is completely honest. Ever, really. I mean, there's always something you're not saying, right? Just because a spotlight is on you doesn't make you immune to being a person and following your chosen path in life. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that all of your information is 100% safe, but that was already not true before you walked through this door. We don't know who's after you, if anybody's after you. Wherever this information's going to go, well, don't you think someone ought to have it at least?
Could you just promise me that you'll let me tell it? Can we make that compromise that I will tell it, but I will tell it? Because there's stuff that could hurt people that I have no way of protecting. And if I can't have this guarantee, then I'm not sure that I can go through with it.
Inviting someone to tread the roads of your mind is for many, very troubling prospect and deeply intimate. You don't know me. I don't know you. And this is where we find ourselves. I will promise you that in your mind, you are the guide. I can't go looking for anything that you don't direct me to. And I will not. And whatever we find, we're finding together. Whatever doors I open, they open into you. And should we encounter something that bears repeating outside these doors, I can promise you, you get first crack. All right?
All right. Let's get cracking then.
And you see that she actually does, and she clicks her jaw. Like she
I wasn't
cracks.
being like literal here.
No, I know. I just saw an opportunity to break the tension. I do have a very clicky jaw. So let me, first of all, right. She stands up, she pushes her chair back. She goes over to a mini fridge that's sort of in the corner of the room. And it's got stickers all over it. It looks like stickers of like different bands. You see one that says like adult sippy cup. There's another one that says, what's another one we came up with? Was it galactic debris? No, cosmic detritus. Yeah, there's another one that says cosmic detritus. And she opens up the fridge and you see just like a rainbow of cans of soda. And she goes, now, somebody else might say pick your poison. Soda is kind of poisonous, but in moderation, as a tool to get you in the right frame of mind, I would ask you what your favorite is. And then I'll ask you to drink it.
Oh boy. What
Or if you're not a
is-
soda man, we could have something else brought in.
no. Oh God, what is Jeremy's favorite soda? Oh no.
This is critical storytelling information. You have to know now.
This is the most important bit of
This is
world
the-
building that we have ever
This
set
is it.
upon.
I'm still reeling from this woman breaking the tension by cracking her jaw, but this is more important.
I like Jeremy's a cherry guy. Like he probably likes
Cherry?
like cherry Coke or something.
Ooh.
But I don't know. That's just the vibe.
Cherry Coke. I like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Cherry Coke.
So first city Coke is going to be called Crash Cola.
Crash
So
Cola.
Cherry Crash. Is
Cherry
what you
Crash. Cherry Crash.
Yeah.
Asteria, did you say cuck?
I said cock, but close enough.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. So she pulls this this can of Cherry Crash and puts it on the desk and slides it over to you very delicately and goes, Cherry Crash, excellent choice. I'll have one myself. And she takes it, she cracks it open. She goes, now, here's the thing that's a topic of some debate with people. Now, I am a glass with ice person, not just for the coldness, but for the texture. So I am going to grab some ice and a glass. Do you want one too? Or are you a can man?
I'm a can man. Ice just dilutes the flavor.
So you're a very, you're a person who likes to take the direct approach when you can, which is good to know.
Yes. Also, I would like the audience to know that Jeremy is fighting every urge to not shake this can and then open it.
Me, I like to take my time when I have a moment and know myself well enough to know that a few extra seconds are worth the time it takes. And she pours it and you see that head of foam and that dark syrupy red color fill up her glass. She puts it down. She takes a sip. It's worth having the best possible experience.
Jeremy is just gonna take his hand and just kind of heat up the can a little bit, just so it won't be like that extreme ice cold, like fresh out the freezer, where like you take a sip and you're like, God damn.
Spicy.
Better?
Better. Let's go.
So, I would ask you, Where do you feel most secure? You don't have to tell me, but picture it. A place where you know yourself and the expectations upon you are not a weight.
I think I got one.
Okay. It's up to you because Dr. Mary's about to do something and you can either tell the audience or it will be a secret what she's about to see.
Oh, okay.
Because she's the only one who's going to see it.
I can tell the audience.
Okay.
I can include you guys, I guess. Is she doing this? Do you want me to describe it now or?
Yeah. So she
Okay.
does not actually do any of the like psychic things, right? It's not like in the movies. She doesn't do this. She doesn't touch you at all. She simply sits there watching you. Her body language completely devoid of tension. Her tone steady. You just sort of feel everything very gradually shift and bleed away, and you find yourself in this place.
I'm gonna say that it's like a glade in like a forest, and for those that don't know, a glade is just a clearing in the forest, and it's just got kind of like ankle to calf height, like that long wispy grass that isn't like very thick. It's nighttime and you can see the stars. It's just very calm and serene with quiet chirps of like birds or frogs or like just forest noises, the nice calming ones, not the scary like coyotes or something.
As you take in this scenery, you sort of feel this very calm presence next to you, and you look over and you see her standing there, wearing a totally different outfit now. She's got sort of a this like green, almost like an old school golfing cap, with her hair sort of coming out of it, and now it's in a ponytail out behind her, and she's just got like this dark sort of forest green blouse tucked into high-waisted pants with some almost like riding boots or like walking boots or something on. And she looks at it and she takes this very big, deep breath. She goes, well, this is an excellent choice. Come, walk with me. Show me around. And she begins to walk down a path, almost like a little dirt road that winds through the trees. And you see it starts to branch off in different directions as you walk. She begins to engage you in just light discussion about the day that you've had, about your training. It almost seems like small talk. It's very disarming. And eventually you realize that the trees are moving and shifting in such a way where the road branches off and off and off. And as you look down those branches as you walk, you catch glimpses between the trees in the negative space. Just little flashes of memory of yours that are on the surface. Yourself as a child, you see yourself running through woods that you might have run through as a kid. It starts with memories that are similar to this one and then branches off in different ways. And her attention is still on you. She's not looking at any of these memories. Very deliberately, you see that.
Well, at first I was going to say I was a bit disappointed that this doesn't seem like the movies, but this is something.
Well, there's just the one of you here, so we can take things a little slower. You can be here with me, which it seems to me is what you would prefer. Though, and she looks over to the end of the road. It's almost as though there is a gap like you're inside a storybook and part of the page has just been torn out and there's just this tattered void where the forest just ends, and you can see the border of it on the other side. And you see memories of your training with Pantheon, recent memories, even last night. You see pieces of that on the other side. But there's this gap across, and it's howling and dark, abyssal, kind of fills you with dread. And she looks at it, and she goes, whatever's down there, I need to get a read on it first. And I don't want to bring you to it because, no offense to you, I'm sure you're very powerful in your own right, but psychically speaking, I don't know what this is going to be. So this is where I leave you temporarily. Try not to worry. Be right back. And you feel this sort of sensation come over you, like the scenery just sort of lulls you to sleep, and you're no longer cognizant of what's happening. To you, it feels like only a moment, but you blink. Almost like the feeling of falling out of a chair, and you're back in the office. And you see this like kind of cold sweat and look of consternation on her face. Her whole face is like scrunched up, and her eyes, her pupils are like moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
You good, Doc? You're not having a seizure, right? Because I do not know how to treat seizures.
No, Jeremy, I meant what I said. I don't want you to panic. We've encountered the unexpected. Perhaps not the worst outcome, but not an easy answer. I am going to need to speak to Fortress, not about what I've seen, because frankly, I didn't see much of anything. What I did see was... Do you remember what I told you about how the mind needs to structure itself? You need to come up with your own structuring tool that I then coax into a structuring tool. For this period of time in your mind, in your memory, someone else has shaped it. I can't. It's set, it's fixed. The best way that I can describe it is that someone has constructed a sort of labyrinth in one period of your mind. And I can feel an awareness, something blocked, something forgotten and powerful, deeper hidden within. There are dangers. I mean, I could maybe do something like this if I had a mind to, but the implications of power here, for someone to have been able to create a set construct in your mind, this is going to take some deliberation. I'm going to speak with Fortress about this, but I think this is going to take more people than you and I.
Oh, dang it.
Jeremy, if you want my recommendation, my immediate recommendation, after I speak with Fortress, I believe that there are dangers in there. And I believe that they are structured around your own memories. I think you are needed to unlock these doors yourself. And it's going to take an immense amount of power for me to guide things from the outside, so we'll need someone else inside to guide you who knows what they're doing. And I've got someone in mind. But you're going to need backup. And it's going to need to be people you're comfortable with. Like I said, it'll take a lot of power to sustain this, to bring enough people in to perceive the same thing, to walk the same paths. And if they're people that you haven't already let in emotionally, if they're people you're not comfortable with, then we have to open those doors too, and that'll take a lot more strain. I think this is a job for your team, if Pantheon is willing and if Fortress allows it. And I think they're a part of it anyway. I know this is a lot to take in, but trust me, it could have been a lot worse. But I need you to consider if this is something you're willing to do, and if it's something they're willing to do.
Man, I don't want Fortress to know about this.
Remember
Because
what I said about something that's probably going to have to leave this? This is one of those things.
I know, but fine. I guess you're the expert. People I trust. Oh, wait, no. 2. Okay. Well, this sucks. I guess I need to bump this number up a bit, huh? Yeah. Damn. All right, fine.
Think it over, talk it over. Sort of chews on the inside of her mouth. This is an abuse of power. But it's also a terrible display of power. Whoever did this does not follow the code of ethics that I do. I promise you this, I will unravel it. But I need your help. It's time to keep your friends close, bud. We're going to have an interesting day ahead of us.
Okay. Well, this, man. Of course this happens on a Monday. Why did I do this on a Monday? Why couldn't I do this on a Saturday? Never would have, and he just starts walking out. Never would have happened on a Saturday.
As you walk out, we travel across campus again. Over to Bang Bang, where some early morning sort of conversations are occurring between you and Pantheon, something that you wanted to discuss with her.
Well, it's just like, we had to go help Helix with this fight against Blackjack, which I think you know about at this point, probably.
Yeah.
And in that fight, I mean, Blackjack is a bad guy. Like, we know this. It is well accounted for. But I used my laser guns against him, the ones that hurt. And it just made me think, like, when is violence okay? When is hurting people okay? Even if you're trying to protect others. I guess in that moment we were trying to protect Helix, but I also just don't want to hurt people.
Let me ask you, where is this conversation happening?
I think BB would have wanted to go away from the main campus, kind of like be really in private. If there's kind of an arboretum or like greenhouse, I think that they're maybe walking through that.
Yeah, there's definitely an arboretum for sure. And there's some cultivated plant life from all over Paragon, not just First City. And you're sitting, I think, maybe on a bench.
Yeah, like a stone bench.
Yeah. Surrounded by just vibrant flowers.
Maybe there's like a fountain in the distance.
Yeah, and there's holographic displays that are showing information about the wildlife and where they come from.
So cool. That's so tight.
And she goes, oh, man, This is the kind of thing that I've never been good at articulating. I mean, this is Tonatrus's area more than anything. Ethics and philosophy, it's easy for those things to fall away when your life is in danger, and even easier for someone like us when someone else is in danger, especially if it's someone we care about. I don't always believe in black and white ethics all the time. I mean, if I did, I might be a government superhero. Laws aren't always the weather vane for what's right. We know this much. And even lawmakers understand this much because we're allowed to continue doing what we do. You can look to that as a guideline, but frankly, in my opinion, it's not enough. Because all that means is that your code of what's right and wrong is just something somebody else with power wrote down. That's not good enough. Me, I've always just kind of felt it on a moment-to-moment basis. And hell, I've gone too far. I've hurt people I didn't need to, and I've let people down who deserved better. And I've spent a long, long time, multiple long times from a other people's lifespan perspective, trying to reassure myself of something that I know to be true, and it's that I did my best. If you can try to believe that you did your best, but still feel like, God damn, I could have done better, that can be good enough.
I'm still learning. I know that I'll get there with the team. My power, even the one that's less dangerous, is so blunt force, and it's so just a weapon. And a lot of other people's powers have multi-utility and are useful for many things, and I can kind of maneuver with the concussive blast, but I just don't want hurting people to be my only thing. So I know that I'll learn when to use my powers and where. And maybe Blackjack was a good starting point because we know that he can heal, but it's just scary to know that that's what I'm going to have to do eventually.
Well, you were up against a dangerous man. You knew his power, you assessed it, and you did what you logically surmised was something that would be more effective. And from what I understand, that saved all of your lives. I think you're farther along than you think you are. I look at that and I look back at what happened fighting Silencer, and I see a spectrum of emotion and its power over you. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that to be a good fighter, to be a good hero, you have to ignore your emotions and fill yourself with cold logic, apply some moral philosophy blanketly over everything that you do. I won't tell you that. I believe that your emotions give you fire, they give you perspective. But it's your job to be introspective about that, to know when it's benefiting only you and no one else, or when it's bringing other people down. You have to know yourself first. And that's hard. I don't think there are many people who could say that they fully do, and even fewer who would be right to say so.
And BB nods at all of this and just kind of sits in silence for a few moments, just kind of twiddling her thumbs in her lap, So I sit on this stone bench, and then she suddenly goes, I had my first kiss.
Really? Well, that's very exciting.
It was just troubleshooter, and she took me to this like lighthouse thing, and we
I'm
went up
sorry,
to the
I'm not trying
top,
to laugh at you.
and 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 she tried to shoot at things, and I tried to get her to stop shooting at things, but then she left me there after we kissed, and I didn't feel really good about that. So I don't know if I like her like that, but she's really strong. But she has all this power, and I don't get the feeling that she wants to do anything too heroic with it.
Well, believe it or not, I have had rockier encounters with women than that. But
You've gotten left at a lighthouse too?
not a lighthouse. Hey, we're not here to talk about me. First experiences are good. I wouldn't call that a horrible one. I mean, as choices go, we're not always in charge of who makes us feel a way. But you're right. She's strong and very powerful, and you have a lot in common, So you shouldn't feel bad about wanting to explore that. I mean, it's not like she's killing people. She's here after all.
I know. I just think that we have different views in a way that doesn't lead to a romance.
Well, if it's not what you want, then don't, right? But if the only reason that you're not investigating further is because you don't know, well, how are you going to know?
Maybe I should find out.
In that pause there, you get a text on your phone.
I pull it up. Do I see who it's from?
Yes, and
Okay.
it's from Teatro.
Oh, hell yeah.
And in this moment, it's actually in a group chat. So Silhouette and Haramon get it as well, but Jeremy does not.
Oh.
And it says, could the three of you meet at my place at your earliest convenience?
I text back, yeah, I can come right now. I want to say one more thing to Pantheon, but do either of you respond as well?
Silhouette says, "Will there be snacks?" And then says, "Just kidding. Yeah, I could be there."
Haramon responds to Silhouette's text by saying, "Yes, there will be snacks. I will be there."
I look at Pantheon. I'm like, hey, I think a few of us are gonna go over and see Teatro, but and Bibi kind of looks at her phone and all the messages that she has in it from her friends. She's like, I was supposed to get a message from my mom eventually that I could go see the Silencer at Blackstone, and it hasn't come yet, but it makes me a little more anxious every day. Have you ever had to have an extended conversation with your arch rival who may or may not be genetically the same as you?
I've had some hard conversations.
What do you do in them?
My best.
Baby nods, and that's actually something that she really can comprehend and understand. And so she nods at that and kind of gives her a tip of the hat and then heads over to Teatro's.
Yeah. So you head over to Teatro's, you meet up with Harriman and Silhouette. The door opens a crack and you see Teatro's eyes, and then he closes it again. You hear the unlocking and he opens it all the way. It's like a bunch of tech locks. And then his eyes are a little bit sunken in, like he's been like working on something all night. He might not have slept today. And he goes, I'm glad you all came so quickly. Please, would you follow me upstairs to my room? I would like to show you something.
I head up.
So he brings you up to his room. He opens the door, brings you inside. He opens up his laptop and he begins to type on it. And then a holographic interface comes up and then he pulls it out and he enlarges it and places it over a big corkboard on his wall. And it's like a holographic interactive display of a string murder board. But
Baloney murder board.
everything there is Jeremy related. You see the documents that you have already seen. The one like with his genome, you see that there's like a paused video, the video that everyone has seen. And as information about Amberly, all kinds of different stuff. And it's all Jeremy related. And he goes, I do not mean to be exclusive, but I do not know Jeremy very well yet. And there is no easy way to ask you, but would you, the three of you, say that you trust him?
Yes, without as he's finishing the sentence, Baby says yes.
I don't think I have a reason not to.
Same.
Has he told you anything, any of his memories of his life?
Not to a super deep extent. I mean, I knew him in the power development program, kind of from afar. So I kind of know what that experience is like, but not anything about, like, I guess, Amberly or his home or all that.
I also haven't really seen a need to, given all the things he's been through. I guess it's never really been on the top of my head. Why are you asking though?
Ever since Hermon's party, I have noticed that many people have let their guard down and have begun to see him as a friend, which is healthy. I am not criticizing anyone for forming a friendship. He is very charismatic, but I cannot help but see details that are concerning to me. His duplicate, his memories degraded somewhat, his physical form. Am I correct? So, if Jeremy was gone and then came back, more or less the same as he was before, physically, mentally, but missing a period of time, well, I cannot help but wonder if this really is Jeremy Johnson or another duplicate. And why now was he sent to us? Here, I mean.
What makes you jump to that very specific conclusion. I mean, I know we're dealing with clones and all that, but
Well, call it a hunch, but missing a period of time could be accounted for by something like that. And I only wish to say that we don't know. And the less we know of his life, of his memories, then the more possible it is that he's withholding things from us or even from himself if he does not know. I am sorry if this seems unfounded. I just, you are my friends and you are very close to him, and I worry if he is not who we think he is, you would be the first in the line of fire.
literally.
Yes, that is where I was going with that. I'm sorry, this
No.
was incredibly rude.
No, this is your way of looking out for us. I feel like this is also maybe part of your way of getting to know someone. That's not for me to say. I don't know. We'll keep an eye out. For me, nothing about what he's done has rung alarm bells. He and I spent a lot of time alone together. Not a lot, but enough for him to attack me if he wanted to. But I guess we kind of didn't really think about that. We just kind of accepted him whole cloth. I don't
And
know.
if he is another clone, which would be insanity, if true, it doesn't matter. Like Bibi said, it's still a good guy, it seems. Still someone worth befriending and protecting and hanging out with. And
But it would also leave the question of where's the real Jeremy Johnson?
where in the world
Is Jeremy Johnson?
Well, I do make a ritual of addressing questions, finding questions to ask, and then approaching them, deconstructing them. But I find for the first time in a very long time that the amount of questions that I have is unsettling. Good or bad, it's all about him. And as I'm coming to understand more and more by the day, you.
yeah, sucks.
Let me know if I can help.
Very well. Thanks so much. And we'll keep an eye out too.
Well, we have training soon with Prestige, so I should probably get going.
On
We'll see ya.
on our way out, I hang back just a scooch.
Okay.
And I say, so about that thing I asked you about earlier in the month.
I think I've put together as many resources as I can. List of names, people involved. I'll send you things very soon.
Okay. Thanks, Leo. Walk out. Pop him on the arm and walk out.
Yeah. Okay. So we fade into a normal day of training. Jeremy, you can be there or not at your discretion. I think you would be expected to be normally.
What a power move if he doesn't show up. But nah, he'll show up. He'll just kind of show up and he'll just continue his rant from earlier of when he left the office.
Mhm.
It's like, 17th. What are you doing on the 17th? 18th is my unlucky day. I knew 18th was my unlucky day. Why did he go in so early in the morning? The evening is my time. Just keep on ranting like that the entire time.
During this period of training, within the first hour, one of Pantheon, the speed one, splits off and heads off somewhere, center of campus. About an hour later, close to noon, she comes back around the end of your sort of physical training session. And as she reintegrates into full Pantheon, she sort of addresses you guys all, hands out sports drinks, and like sits down at a table. She goes,
Goldfish and orange slices.
"So Fortress just called me to her office, and I listened to what Dr. Mary had to say. I don't know if you want to front this, Jeremy. This is your thing, but it's been relayed to me that we all need to have a conversation."
Oh, you didn't have to put it like that. Jeez, it sounds like someone's gonna die.
Jeremy, you know I love this whole thing that you do. It reminds me of a young me. It reminds me of a current me. And being a narcissist, I very much enjoy that about you. But this is big shit. I don't want any of you getting hurt by this, by anything, really, but you know. You want to take this one?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to, but I will. So basically, I went to Dr. Mary earlier today. That's why I've been ranting the whole time about days and times. And anyways, we did a whole psychic thing to try and, or telepathic thing, technicalities, to try and uncover why I don't know what happened when I was just in stasis. And essentially we found a big pit in my memories. Now, I first thought that I had died and I was replaced by someone, but then she said that it was most likely that someone else with powers similar to hers just created like a labyrinth in my memories, so I couldn't remember what happened. Sounds slightly more likely that I'm a clone of myself, but kind of needs some help untangling those memories. She mentioned that she'll be bringing in someone to help like boost her powers, and that I would need help navigating them by bringing people along that I trust. So you're kind of like the closest thing to trust that I have. So now I do want to warn you. I don't know exactly what could go wrong because she didn't tell me, because she didn't want to scare me, but I'm fairly certain our brains could pop if this goes wrong. So if you want to back out, completely fair.
I want to say that's an exaggeration, but she said that there are unknowns, dangers. She said they were planted. She also was using the word labyrinth, so putting that out there. I also need to tell you that I can't go with you if you do this. I would, but the nature of all of this, she vibrates a little bit. I should just say, connecting in this way, it's a lot of roads intertwining and trying to ride one. There's going to be a risk of spinning out with every added person along for the ride. And if I'm in that mix, you could all get very hurt.
I'll do it.
I mean, I'll do it too, I guess. But are you insinuating that you are 5 different brains in one person? I always just assumed it was like a hive mind situation with you, but
Yes and no. We all have our quirks. We share experiences when we want to, and don't when we don't. But it's all me. Yeah, you're right. It's complicated. But it's also, there's more than that. It's just not safe for you to connect to my mind.
I mean, I guess the question is, what exactly are the risks? Because no one has said exactly what the risks are. And I feel like I'm going to have to wait for Dr. Mary to be here to explain it to me, which is fine. But I also am not just going to go in blind, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can relay it to the best of my ability, but it would be better coming from her for sure. And she also has already contacted Poltergeist with minimal information, only as much as he needed to know, but he is on call and he's ready to come assist. We just need to decide if this is something we're doing tonight or waiting until tomorrow.
Feel like preparing yourself for psychic stuff is something that you need to prepare for. So I can tell you right now, there are some things that I have to square away. You know, I don't know how wacky zonky it will be if our shit can potentially invade your mind and vice versa. I don't know how it works. So I would rather be.
What it was like was less like you guys. It was less of an exchange and more just me kind of guiding you through my mind. So like, I don't think your stuff would get mixed up in my stuff. I think it's more just like, say the reason that Pantheon can't come is that there's not enough space on the path and someone might fall off into my brain memories. That doesn't sound like very good.
Like if Pantheon went into your brain and we were walking the path, instead of 4 people, it would be 8 people trying to walk the same path or whatever.
I thought
because
it would be
each Pantheon would be one Pantheon on the path.
Yeah, and someone would get third homied on the sidewalk.
Well, that's a little tangential to the point. I'm not going. I can't.
I was just trying to explain why you couldn't go, Pantheon.
Yeah, we're just trying to rationalize it.
Well, you do see the change in. She doesn't want to talk about this.
Oh, I'll go whenever you guys are ready.
Phoebe, the easiest friend in the world.
Yeah.
Fine, say less, Pantheon. I'll buckle in.
Should I call her, bring her over to the house and have a talk about this, and we'll decide where we go from there?
I mean, let's address the poltergeist thing. Is that something that you, Jeremy, would be okay with? It sounds like having another psychic telepathic in the mix would be incredibly helpful. However, you don't know the man very well. None of us really do.
That's why I was thinking that maybe tonight or like now or something, we could all just have a bunch of like a heart to heart get to know each other shindig. Because the thing is that I'm supposed to like bring people that I like super trust, and then she said that if I don't trust them, we're gonna need to like break down that wall of not mistrust, but not like complete trust. You dig? And
Sounds
I
like
dig.
therapy.
yeah,
Does sound like therapy.
this is how many people that I trusted. They died. Now there's just this. So I need to bring this number back up to 1, 2. There we go.
BB will fully spill her guts at any given moment. So just say the word. But yeah, I mean, we're your team, so you should trust us, you know? I mean, trust is earned, but it would be good
Just
for us
trust
to
us,
all trust each
forehead.
other. What was it?
Just trust us, forehead.
Yeah,
BB.
trust us, forehead.
Okay.
So tonight we have a heart to heart. Tomorrow we go in your brain.
Sounds like fun. That's a Monday.
All right. I guess I'll go have a more involved conversation, and I'll see you guys in the morning.
Bye, Mom.
Going in
She
your
puts
brain.
Did you actually say that?
What? I said it jokingly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she puts a hand on your shoulder reassuringly, and you say that, and she takes it off immediately and goes, "Don't do that." And then she leaves.
I nearly got my ass beat.
By my mom.
So you guys go home that night and do what?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Make
Is
friendship
it something you
bracelets.
guys want to role play through, or do you want to just kind of explain what happens?
I don't know. I was thinking role play through maybe.
Yeah.
A questionino. Where is the blackjack calling card currently?
I have it in my wallet. Did Harold say that?
No. But
Okay.
there is a sort of tension that cloud that like surrounds them, and they're also like thumbing the emerald necklace that Backtrack gave them quite a
Ooh.
bit. But there's an air of tension that sort of, because Paramount doesn't know where it is. I think they just assume that it's in the house somewhere. So every time they're in the house, it falls on them like a cloud.
Well, let's say in this moment, I pull the card out and I'm like, hey, so what? I think this is just a normal playing card, but I want to make sure it's not like a tracking device or it has like a microphone in it or whatever. Could you just look it over really quick and see if there's anything special about it?
Very fun. This little thing.
Yeah.
And I pretend to like hit it around, but I don't actually damage it.
So you're trying to just investigate it, see if there's anything weird about it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna
make Natasha check.
Oh, well, I meant that more in like oh, this stupid little thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if she doesn't actually look it over, then you have to roll anything.
No. And then I was gonna say like, like you said, like tracking device or something.
Mhm.
Okay. I want her to take out like a stethoscope from like her pocket. But it's like a special one. It's like a tech one.
Yeah.
And
A techoscope.
Attack-a-scope. Yeah,
You
perfect.
took it before I could unmute.
Yeah. and she puts the end of it to the card and she tries to see if it's like a tracking device. Like actually, like this is like to see if it, I don't know, like maybe there's like some kind of really super low decibel.
You're hearing the waves
sound.
of electricity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I am content to just tell you without a roll, honestly, that there are no like waves coming from this thing. There's nothing seemingly tech about this at all.
Okay.
Really.
just
There's
a card.
just a it's just like a nice, really thick card. And on the other end of it, the opposite, the back side of it, words on card words. Yeah. The back side of it just has a series of like numbers on it. There's no like phone number, there's no address, there's just a line of numbers.
Is it like a barcode?
Not quite a barcode. This is something that I would have you roll for.
Okay,
you were
I'll
going.
roll.
Do it.
The second it gets
Um,
like pulled out, like Haramon's hair, like Miyazaki film, like raises and they bristle, and they just start looking, still like thumbing over the emerald, and look like down, through their nose, I guess, or past their nose. I don't know. At it, just like staring at it, like mad dogging this card.
Okay.
Can I?
What should I roll?
It's just intelligence, I would say.
Is it clear that Haramon is having that reaction? Like, would we be able to perceive it?
I think they're doing the Haramon thing where they're not making a show of what they're doing. They're just doing it, it's just their reaction,
Is this
Can
all
I
back
roll
at
to
the
try to
house
see
too?
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's up to you.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna resolve this first though.
Yeah,
This is
please.
what's happening first.
I'm gonna roll.
Okay.
I got a 2 out of 4.
2 out of 4. Okay, middling success. So I'm just gonna say that you can rule out the idea of a phone number, an email address, or an address. They're segmented in such a way that is like familiar to you. There's like a convention of this. Because you're you, average success for you in this department is these are probably some kind of like coordinates, but you can't tell by looking at it like where in the world.
It's a social security
in
card.
The world is Jeremy Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Is there anyone on any of the team? This is me asking. There's no like geography majors that are superheroes.
Like, is there anyone who's super good with coordinates and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Helix
Sorry.
might.
Okay.
Helix is from an island.
Superheroes that are super good with coordinates. That's such a specific
That is.
thing.
That's why I'm asking, because I don't know.
There's no like geography, man.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. No, it's I just wouldn't have thought. There's
What, we got Matryoshka doll girl, but we don't got geography, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of bullshit is this?
I would just say like bring it to somebody who is like very intelligent or worldly.
Can I just look up the coordinates?
You can also just look up the
I'm
coordinates.
just gonna look up the coordinates.
I'm assuming this is all happening at home now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
we've been at home.
So looking up the coordinates, you do see that this is a location that is in the first city, not quite in like the downtown area, but like further past the outskirts, outside of the core, outside of the skyline, far enough away to sort of avoid the spotlight in that way. And to your knowledge, that's not like, you can just sort of future Google Maps it and see like what building this is, because it just seems like it's just a plot of land. Like it's just a place. There's no building there that you know of.
Super.
How far away is it?
ambiguous.
How far is it?
Yeah.
Probably like an hour if you're in a vehicle,
Okay.
maybe a little less.
Okay. That's it.
Mhm.
Do you share that with us?
I think I just tell BB like, yeah, like it's not gonna track you, like it's not
Okay.
gonna like hear you poop, like don't worry.
Good.
And then I'm like,
That's what I was worried about.
yeah,
Definitely.
no, I would be too. And then and then Stella hands you back the card and it's just like, there's coordinates. I can't really figure out what the deal is, but road trip.
Is it in the first city?
Technically.
I guess so.
Huh.
Technically, it's kind of far.
Okay. Well,
Hypothetically, we could skate there.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
On skates, it would probably take a little longer, but by car, maybe an hour.
But we look really cool if we use the skates.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's probably like Blackjack's hideout or whoever he works for's hideout.
Why are they hiding?
Because they're criminals.
True. Word.
Fucking what was I gonna say? But yeah, Jeremy, whatever. Oh, wait. I want to resolve the thing with Harriman. As Silhouette hands the card back to me, can we roll to see if
Is a
BB
roll
picks up on-
required? Is my question.
For what exactly?
to
What
to
each- are
see
you
you react?
To see? I mean, you can see it, but
Yeah.
to sort of.
Because if it's obvious and if it's information, what I'm saying is I don't bar information that you want conveyed behind rolls. There's no reason to do it unless you want it to be something that like has to be gleaned.
Let me say, Harriman's doing the thing where they're very clearly displeased, but they're trying not to make a big deal out of it because there are other important things going on. Like, I don't know, like
Okay.
in the Fortress's office or whatever in the last volume, like or like any time that like anyone would say anything, then they'd be like, these motherfuckers, but they wouldn't say it because it wouldn't be important or productive to like bring up. They're doing that thing, so they're like, they can't help themselves from reacting or showing that they're feeling a certain type of way, but they're definitely not bringing it up.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. I don't know if BB would be confident enough to ask you about that yet.
Jeremy's a straight shooter. He turns
Yeah.
to you and asks, what's on your mind, Harriman? You seem on edge.
Fuck you, Jeremy. I have been trying my best to find a middle ground between flip-flopping between everything's fine and being incredibly disappointed in you three for handling the fight at Decker's and
why? I mean, what did we do?
I was only there because I was contingency, right? If I given the choice, I wouldn't have even gone to Subterranean. I would have waited for you all and Helix to come back because you are all adults and you can make your own choices. But I thought when I conveyed that information of exactly why I cannot be seen or found out or whatever, and exactly why I was going and how I didn't actually want to be there. I thought maybe you all would have that in mind. And what I saw, while it was excellent fighting, was an incredible display of showmanship,
What should we have done differently?
I don't understand, Jeremy, why you use your fire powers when you know people are looking for you, and not many people have fire powers. And Silhouette trying to shove jelly beans up his nose, like this wasn't a game. This isn't a game.
It kind of was.
No, it really wasn't, because if Jack Black,
If
Jack Black.
if Blackjack had wanted to, he probably could have done some very serious damage to any one of you, and no one would have batted an eye, because this was his fight. If they want to, they can try and look in and find out who any of you are, including Helix, including anyone else on Tanatrus's team. I'm surprised. I mean, we might have been, but it didn't seem like it. But I'm surprised no one of Blackjack's goons followed us out and tried to, saw us with Tanatrus or anything. Like,
Herman, we've all already fought there before. Like,
Yeah.
I know that there's a difference between us fighting Blackjack and us fighting Triple Decker, but this was for our friend so that he could get his family house back. Okay, maybe the way that we fought wasn't up to your standard, but we won. And that fight was maybe 30 seconds max. If if Blackjack opens it up to be against 5 people, clearly he can handle himself.
my point.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, continue. I want you to finish.
I just, if you wanted to do serious damage, he could have, but that didn't happen. And we accomplished the goal of saving our friend's house. And you didn't have to come. If you really felt that strongly about it, you could have stayed home.
That seems more personal.
Yeah, like
But
us.
I've never heard you have a problem with fighting.
And being superheroes, like, yeah, people will be able to identify us by our powers and come after us constantly. That's the gig. So
My point is,
yes.
I feel like I expressed to you the bigger picture, and the bigger picture wasn't ignored, both with my deal and with Jeremy's deal. And that was more of a personal choice for Jeremy specifically to showcase his firepower. But for me, having such flashy teammates puts me in a very uncomfortable position, because if Blackjack sees me connected to the 5 people that took him down in 30 seconds, and then he decides to pry into that, and he finds things that he should not know, and that information gets distributed to people at large, my head is on the chopping block. My whole mission could be in jeopardy. And so I thought I could trust you guys to be a little bit more discreet.
Herman, I don't know if you've ever fully expressed to us what your mission is.
And besides, we're here to be heroes, Haramon. We're not here to gather information. That means that we put ourselves on the line. That means that we take risks. That means that, yes, sometimes we have to sacrifice being underground to help people, no matter the personal cost. That's what a hero does. That's what I'm here for. That's what BB and Silhouette are here for, Haramon. And I'm sorry that our goals don't go hand in hand, but we're here to be heroes.
What is your mission?
I feel like I'll reiterate. My mission is to evaluate how things are run here, how the government handles problems, how the people generally are, report it back, and then people with more authority than me begin the process of discussing, is it time for us to reach out a hand, rejoin the rest of the world? But no one is supposed to know that. The only people who are supposed to know that are the people at this school. If the public learned that right now, it would put everything in danger.
How would it put everything in danger, though?
If people got overexcited, let's say, jumped the gun, took associating with the Custodi into their own hands before there were any deals or anything, or thought that this was an okay to now go to the jungle. I mean, the worst thing would be war, because anyone who enters that jungle right now will be killed on sight. And so that would end very, very badly for everyone involved. If the public knows that I'm here specifically at Moonlight, at the non-government place, people could think that I have free reign to do whatever. I might be a spy, this, that. It would be very bad for me if the Custodi think that I have compromised anything that I am not authorized to share with anyone else. If they feel like I've leaked something or whatever, my punishment most likely would be exile, and I would never be able to go home. So it's a very big, complex problem, and that's why I attack everything the way I attack it in this godforsaken city, because I am here for a mission that is much bigger than myself.
But who said it's going to get to that point? Who said we're going to let your head fall on a chopping block? Who said it will ever get to the point where any of those people find out, as if we're not also here to protect you? I think that's a big thing you're forgetting, that you have not only, BB and Jeremy, but also, and myself included, but like you said, an entire school who knows about your mission, who would not be letting anything happen to you.
I appreciate that.
How do we do better? It feels like we get accused of a lot of things constantly, but there's never suggestions of how we actually change things to make you more comfortable or make your mission easier.
Maybe it's just all the jokes, but a lot of the times it just doesn't feel like you guys are treating certain things very seriously, or as seriously as you could be.
Everyone
No.
has their ways of dealing with tension. For a lot of us, it's just joking. We do deal with high stress situations, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I don't know. I've just I've been in very high stress situations all my life. And I guess there's just sort of a flow and a wisdom that comes with that. So sometimes, I mean, let's be real, our first real life mission ended with me almost dying. And I'm not using that, like, I'm not lording that over you. I'm not trying to, but there is a sort of, I don't know the flow with you guys yet. And that it's like growing pains almost, I guess.
That mission, that was my fault. I was too consumed with fearing my mom and what she could do, and I let you down, and I let Silhouette down. I've tried over the past few months to do everything I can to learn and change and be better. But again, like our first conversation, like the week after I arrived, it takes time. And it feels like my dad told me once that a relationship is like a bridge, and you have to meet somewhere along the bridge, but you can't go over to the other person's side. And it feels like over and over you're asking us to go over to your side, and we're trying. Then when we try to, you say, no, that's wrong. We're a team. We accomplished crazy things together. We saved our friend's house, even though it wasn't in a way that you like, someone that we all care about. I know that your mission is greater than we can possibly imagine, but I think a lot of superheroes would say this same thing. And we're all under this stress and are pushing to be able to handle those things. I don't know, like, I want to understand you and I want to be there for you and I want to make your mission easier. I just don't know how.
The reality is you may not be able to do anything.
That's a very interesting beat. And I would like to introduce a sort of narrative nudge here, if you guys are comfortable, because much like in real life, right, with friends or with people who are even just getting to know each other, I really like the idea that this conflict does not resolve in one conversation, that you sleep on this tension and actually carry it into the coming day.
I'm fine with that. I was almost about to have Silhouette get up and leave.
Damn.
As a to talk about it later thing.
As that kind of dies down, Baby will turn to Jeremy and be like, hey, if there's any questions you want to ask me, or I guess there's any questions you want to ask me that will make you more comfortable with me for this mission, go. I'll tell you anything.
Well, Poltergeist is taking their sweet time getting here.
I was under the impression that you guys were gonna just hang out together tonight. I didn't know you guys were expecting him over.
Oh, I wanted to have Poltergeist over, so because I mean he's also gonna be somewhat in my head, so I kind of wanted to bond with him.
Right. Okay.
So I imagine Jeremy had like texted him and be like, "Hey, meet us in 30 minutes," and 15 minutes has passed, and we're like about to fist fight each other or something.
That's fair. No, we can get him, that we can do a comical like he gets there at that point. I just want to get us through pacing wise. I want to make sure that we get to what's going to happen and allow ourselves to really explore that. So we can say that he sort of comically arrives at that time and like hangs out with you guys a little bit. I also think that he does. I think he is going to tell you, he picks up on the weirdness of the room, and you see that he ebbs and flows with it in a very interesting way and absorbs and sort of mirrors the energy of all of you guys. And he does very gracefully transition into explaining to you sort of his role in everything. And he essentially says, the purpose of my being involved here is that I've been training pretty heavily with Dr. Merry to develop my telepathy. And while I'm far from being a master at this point, the benefit of my inclusion is that where Dr. Merry is a very powerful telepathic force, I tend to have somewhat of a combat focus. My goal is to carry half the weight here. Dr. Merry, if allowed to focus all of her efforts on sustaining the connection between all of you and me, then I can focus on guiding us through the nuances of a human mind from the inside. Take us through common problems that we may encounter and walk you through things that, frankly, there just isn't enough time to teach you beforehand. I will have to show you from the inside how to navigate a mind. That's my role. And I have also suggested that Link be present, not on the inside, but on the outside, to link myself and Dr. Merry. It's difficult to explain, but think of it like connected circuits. If the two of us are connected and all of us are connected to you, having Link there is yet another support. I understand we don't know each other very well. I don't want to view anything that you don't want seen, but Dr. Merry made it very clear to me that we may encounter dangers here. It takes a lot of power to construct something in someone's mind. And it seems, from her analysis, sort of pattern locked to your memories. The risks of us doing this are, if you lose control, if you're injured, or if your emotions boil to the surface, you may interrupt the flow and we may find ourselves viewing your problems, not Jeremy's. Inserting your own obstacles into the maze. I can help navigate us around this. Hopefully. He leaves it there.
Jeremy, while he was doing that, Jeremy was in the kitchen preparing stuff, and he'll walk around. And he'll have like a tray that has like 5 mugs with like whipped cream and some like cocoa powder on the top, and he'll place it in front of everybody. And then he'll put it on his own spot, and then he'll turn down the lights, and he'll say, adding on top of that. And then he'll wave his hand, and like a circular ring of fire will fill, and then you'll see like it kind of like raise up and then stop at different points, and you see an outline of a town. And he'll say, I wanted you all here because I don't like people going in my mind, and even more so, I would hate forcing you guys to go into my mind against your will. Not that I really could, but I know things that I haven't told you, things I haven't told anyone other than JJ. And That's because the things that I know are dangerous, deadly even. And one of the things that's stopping me from trusting people is that I don't know if they would be able to keep the same secrets that I am able to keep. Because, and you'll notice that now he'll reach down, and next to a burned house, there's another house, and he'll pick up a little, like a little person, a little puppet, and it'll make it bigger, and it'll show this little boy playing with a robot. He says, because if the secrets that I know get out, they'll be traced to me because I'm the only one that knows them. And whoever is doing this, whoever ordered the silencer to kill JJ, they'll come after the people that I care about, or that they think I care about. And it'll put the little Freddy puppet back down, and it'll say, and I can't let innocent people get hurt because of that. So I would, while I would appreciate your help, I'm not expecting it. The only thing that I would expect is that whatever we learn in there, or whatever I may accidentally let slip during the stresses, that you please keep it to yourself until I expose it. Because if not, then people could get hurt, and he'll extinguish the diorama.
Is there anything that you want to ask us to make sure you're comfortable with us being in your mind?
As long as you promise to keep anything to yourself, you're good people. I can trust you.
BB holds out a pinky for a big promise.
As you do this, Poltergeist goes, you've all had time to get to know each other, which will help. It's not required per se, but it does make it easier. I can't exactly make you perfectly comfortable with me, but I can tell you something to the heart of me that hopefully will give you something to work with.
Name.
I am autistic. It's not surprising. Everyone on my team is on the spectrum, including Combio himself. We all support each other in various ways. One thing that most people don't know about telepaths is that many of us don't sleep the traditional way that you might. I rest, and I sleep the customary amount of hours that one is meant to, but I don't dream per se. In my mind, I'm awake. My body is at rest, but you would call it lucid dreaming. Functionally, I'm awake and aware 8 hours longer than most people per day. And I practice anything I feel merits practicing. I believe in preparation. I believe it's a strong strategy for someone like me, and something I wish that more people had access to, that many will never know. And I bring this up because while we're walking the pathways of your mind, well, Dr. Mary insists that the mind is not a place. While literally that is true, metaphorically I disagree somewhat. Because for me, every night it is, and that place is mine. Where we're going is yours, even if we're the ones perceiving it. And you should know telekinesis is my focus, my comfort zone. My telepathy is developing. Something I struggle with, not just professionally, but in my relationships as well. And, well, I don't want you to feel unsafe in my hands, but I want you to know that I apply a strict code of ethics. Nothing we see in there, short of the endangerment of life or our way of life, none of that gets past me. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take it. And he'll shake his hand. And Jeremy will say, I really appreciate you sharing that. I wasn't expecting it, and it you didn't have to do it just to make me feel comfortable. I just needed your whole NDA, non-disclosure agreement, but I appreciate it.
Well, hopefully now there's a door open for me to walk as well that doesn't need to be forced. And don't worry about me. I mean, this isn't something I'm not uncomfortable with it. It's not a secret. It's just me. So, and on that beat, I think that's where we're going to dissolve over to the next morning. The next morning, I'm going to say not too terribly early, somewhere in the 10s. Pantheon arrives first to sort of make sure that everyone is all right. And one by one, everyone else arrives, starting with Poltergeist and then Dr. Mary herself, who is dressed a little more casually, a little more comfortably. I think you guys would do this in your house, probably like in the living room with like comfortable seating. She would have insisted that it be a more familiar environment, not in her office or in the hospital. And as you're all sort of sitting, discussing, trying to get to know each other a little bit, Link arrives with Porter.
Hey.
And as the door opens, Porter goes, "Hey guys, just here to drop Link off. And then I'll
Baby goes, hey.
How you guys doing? Oh, that's a lot of people. Hey, Dr. Mary."
We're just hanging out, but we'll take good care of Link.
I'm sure you will. All right. See you, pal. And then he goes to high five, and Link is like, and then he poofs away. So Link stands in the doorway now that Porter is gone, with their shoulder length, shiny black hair parted down the middle, big wide eyes, pale face, dressed to the nines as usual, like a tiny little old man, with like a little blazer with elbow patches and a little bow tie. But you see that it's not like buttoned all the way up. They've actually buttoned it down a little bit, so the bow tie is a little more loose, almost like a little bit crooked. And they adjust it and they go, "Well, good morning, guys. Hope this is okay."
My work dressing down much.
Yeah, I know. This is going to be a little bit involved, and I wanted to make sure that I wanted to be a little more loose today. Trying to work on that. Casual.
I
In
think
a very
you look
non-casual
great.
situation.
Yeah.
This is like the most energetic we've seen Link ever be, and it's kind of weird.
True.
It's kind of weird.
Wait, Silhouette, what'd you say?
I said I think you look great.
Thank you.
That's
You
literally
do.
it.
Jeremy, I'm not sure that you and I have really been introduced, but I'm Link.
I'm Jeremy.
I link people's emotions and thoughts together.
I do arson.
Great. Shall we? May I enter?
A lot of zingers this episode. I do arson. Great.
Wait,
Yeah.
I'll turn to BB and be like, wait, is Link a vampire? Why can't they just come in the house? Do they need to be let in?
They're just ultra polite to the point of vampirism.
Thank
can
you.
come in.
That's a very interesting scale.
It's my personal scale of politeness. BB gestures for Link to come in. And I was like, do you want water or juice or
Maybe a
soda?
sody pop.
Maybe an ice water, yeah, during this. I imagine that we're going to get started pretty quickly here. Hi everybody. And they sit down between Dr. Mary and Poltergeist. And as you all get settled, you have your snacks and your drinks and stuff. Dr. Mary's insisting, like, I'm glad everyone's getting things that they need for comfort. Try to ground yourself as much as possible, maintain as much of yourself as possible, but be ready to move with the flow of this, sort of ebb and flow with it. And Poltergeist, of course, will be here to guide you through any obstacles that you may encounter. We've already run through the risks here, but I think there's not much to do but to do it. Whatever you encounter in there, trust that we can pull you out at a moment's notice. Myself and Poltergeist being linked together means that he will be able to signal to me very quickly to pull you out safely, at which point I will try to pull you out safely. But otherwise, good luck. And I believe in you.
Let's do this.
Pantheon stands between your team specifically and goes, I'm right here. All of me is right here. If anything goes wrong, and I'm not saying anything will, I'm not going to let anything happen to you.
Thanks.
She gives everybody little shoulder pats.
I think we got it.
And she doesn't sit down. She stays standing, sort of pacing around, watching what's going on. Dr. Mary nods to her and goes, right, very serious. Everyone, focus in. Bring yourself somewhere calm, somewhere meditative, a place where you can be fully yourself. And imagine yourself walking home from that place. Think. Link sort of looks very wide-eyed, cocks their head over between Poltergeist and Dr. Mary, and something goes incredibly synchronous. Jeremy starts to go groggy first before the rest of you. And for a moment, you see him seem to just sort of like eyes roll back and like,
Damn, this shit hit different.
Yeah. He fades back sort of into the couch. Poltergeist maintains this very upright posture, almost like he's staring into a fire. Something kind of glitters faintly in his eyes a bit, but his face stays very neutral, very stony, very focused. But you just see something in his temple just sort of moving slightly. And then the rest of you feel something as well. A pull. Like when you know that you're trying to fall asleep, so it's like you're pretending to be asleep in order to fall asleep. But when you wake up the next morning, you can't pinpoint the exact moment you did. And there is only here and now where you are. And you feel like you're in your body. You feel right with yourself to the best of your ability. But you look around and you're all together. At least Jeremy, Hermone, Silhouette, Bang Bang, and Poltergeist are all here. and you're standing, you feel like wood chips under your shoes. And you look and you see this sort of expanse of wood chips, and then a number of feet forward, there's concrete and turf. It's sort of an etching of a long snake with hopscotch patterns all through it in the concrete, and it's surrounding a huge playground. And you can hear school bells in the distance behind you, and if you look off, you can see a squared off sort of building, an elementary school behind you. It's a bright, sort of chilly morning. And Jeremy, you recognize this place immediately, but the rest of you've never been here before. And you see children playing on the sort of apparatus, sliding down the slide.
Is this a place you know, Jeremy?
Yeah. This is my old elementary school.
You went to normal school?
You did it? Excuse me? Oh.
I was homeschooled and then I was in the PDP.
Oh God, that explains so much.
That
He'll kind of rib you.
BB laughs and nods and looks around at everyone else.
I think the whole event that's happening is having like a possibly a physical effect on Silhouette. Like I feel like she feels kind of woozy. So she's just kind of like yeah, like I'm here kind of deal. And I think she like you said there's like kids playing on a swing set.
Mhm.
And I think Silhouette is trying to get out like, yeah, this is a really nice area. And then she sees the kids on the swing set and goes, give me 1 second. And then like walks over just to catch her breath so she doesn't vomit.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say she walks over to the kids and vomits on them.
Poltergeist sort of keeps an eye on you for a moment, and he goes, it does take a moment of adjustment, the strange middle ground between the illusion of physical body and the feeling of your normal physical body. Some people can slot into it easier than others, but
yes, everything you just said. But Silhouette is like persistent in keeping along with the group and trying not to like let it show too much.
If it's any comfort, this does track. Someone who is highly intellectual and works with their hands is going to be someone who's much more grounded in the physical world, and therefore something that you might call more of a metaphysical space could be harder to ground yourself in, but it will pass.
Is Poltergeist flirting with me? I'm kidding. That was a joke.
We're transported back to your first meeting in the hallway.
True.
I feel like this is a question that could have, should have, and could have, and probably was asked before we came in to Jeremy's mind. But can we get hurt here? Is this a you die in the game, you die for real situation?
Ordinarily, no. In the context of exploring someone's memories, usually there is no level of interaction beyond what is controlled by a combination of your perception and what is being guided by the telepath. Usually you might appear almost like a ghost, and you might notice these children, they don't see us, they don't notice us, which cues us very instantly into the idea that this is a memory and it's going to play out the way it's going to. However, and he reaches down and he picks up some of the wood chips very physically and funnels them through his hands. This space is not controlled by Dr. Mary or myself. This is something constructed by another telepath, an unknown, to be a challenge. And this would be the first stage. early childhood. The structuring is not lost on me in that regard. We have to wait and see how things are going to play out, but my immediate impression is, for us, this is going to be a physical space. We're not in control here. We can be hurt.
Are we gonna have to fight these kids?
I should hope not. Jeremy, do you recognize this place?
This is where we used to play during recess.
Right as you say that, you see a kid run by you. And you know who he is.
He is me, isn't he?
He is you. What's
I
he look
knew
like?
it.
At about 5 years old.
At about 5 years old. Well, he's got the height of about a 5 years old kid.
Mhm.
A little bit shorter than the rest of the kids around him. He's got the same hair color, but his hair is longer. Kind of got that kid poof to it, you know? Where like with every like kind of like jog step, it just kind of moves on its own. He's like missing one of his teeth. Is that the age when kids start losing their teeth? God, I can't remember.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say so.
We'll go with it.
I would say
We'll
so,
roll with
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just small, energetic, doesn't have a big build or anything, pretty skinny kid. Just missing a couple of teeth.
Mm-hmm. And we see him run by, and when he does, Poltergeist nods to you and takes a couple steps forward to kind of see where he goes, and steps up closer to the sort of playground apparatus. And we watch the younger Jeremy run up to the top of the steps, scream something to the effect of, like, everybody watch me, and slides down, like belly first, down the slide, and lands cackling in the wood chips. But then you see another kid run up and slides down the slide in such a way where he pushes into you at the bottom and knocks you over. He goes, Jeremy, I told you the slide was mine today. I'm the king of the slide, and you're not allowed. No one else is allowed.
Real Jeremy instantly curls into himself and just kind of lays down in a ball. He's like, oh no, not today.
What does young Jeremy do?
Young Jeremy will kind of like get up and be like, no, the slide belongs to everyone. You can't claim it.
Yes, I can. And he pushes you a little bit.
Hey, don't push me. That's mean. You're mean.
Who throws the first punch?
Baby starts pulling her gun. No, I'm kidding.
Between the two children in the
Yeah.
memory, who throws the
Me,
first punch?
real adult Jeremy. First.
I swear to God, I thought you were gonna say, I light another kid on fire.
I think the other kid throws a punch first.
Okay. And Jeremy follows. And then you see these two kids just sort of ham-fisting at each other, rolling around as the other kids start to gather. One of them runs off, teacher! Miss Beeman! And runs into the room as you see a very frazzled, frizzy-haired, 30-something-year-old lady with big glasses and a sundress running out to intervene. She steps up in between you and kind of pulls you apart and goes, all right. First of all, this needs to stop right now. I expect both of you to apologize to each other. And you see the other kid is way more injured and crying. I mean, you're both fine, but the other kid's like a little more scraped up. Like you were winning the fight. And Jeremy doesn't really look like he's got much of a scratch on him. He's kind of a tough kid. And
That's my boy.
Jeremy is not like emotionally reacting to this. Like young Jeremy is not really crying. He's just still like in it. Like he's still ready to go. And she's got her hand on his chest and she's like, Jeremy, the fight is over now. And you owe Hunter an apology.
He started it, not me. Pushed me and punched me.
Jeremy, we are not going back inside until you apologize. And as those words leave her mouth, the entire scene freezes. As in, like, it stops. No one is breathing, no one is moving. It's like a movie's been paused, but you're inside it. But you're all still fine. You're all still moving.
I'd be relieved so that you guys didn't see what happened next, except this terrifies me.
So you do remember what
happens
happens
next?
next.
Yeah.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Well, we're here. So
We're
Oh.
fully in your mind right now.
Well, what you're seeing is when I first activated my powers.
I was
Yeah.
right.
As you say this, the scene starts to play out again slowly. It's in like slow motion as you start to describe it.
I think, are we off the wood chips? We should get off the wood chips for sure.
Well, when I did it, it was like a little baby kid wood chips. All I did was really just fart fire, kind of. So
Okay, never
I don't
mind.
think we're in any big danger here. Oh no!
Baby Jeremy isn't going to blow up the school is what he's trying to say.
I wasn't the arsonist I am today back then.
As the conversation pivots and you have this moment where you're not really describing it anymore,
He said he farted fire.
he did, but you see that it slows down a little bit more, like to molasses.
Okay, fine, okay. And Jeremy will look around and be like, okay, fine. I did like a fire explosion from out of me. It went poof. It's kind of like when you pass your hand through a flame. That's the level of fire. I mean, your hand through a candle flame, and you just do it real quick, and you don't get burned. That's what happened. It frightened the teacher and the other kids, but no one got hurt. Is that enough for you, Mom?
As you're describing this, you do see that burst of fire emanate from the child, and all the other kids around are like stunned silence. There's not even like a chorus of ooh or anything. Like, it's not weird. You know, kids manifest powers in this world, and it's not weird, but in this moment, there is that sort of stunned reaction, and the teacher is also sort of standing there as well. And the scene starts to dissolve a little bit. And it's pushing in from the outside edges, catching up to where you are, pressing you toward the center. And you do see that fire has illuminated something. The outline of a doorway on the opposite side of the playground. And Poltergeist goes, well, I think you solved the puzzle quickly. And he begins to move you guys toward that doorway. As you pile through it and the scenery closes in behind you, you see, just like that black void before that you saw in the forest, it sort of eats away at the scene as it caves in, falling into a well of nothing, dissolving away until you're through the door, and you blink and find yourself somewhere entirely different. In fact, Jeremy, it looks not dissimilar to the woods that you were in earlier, but you're in more of a clearing. You can hear sort of running water in the distance, and there's a lot of bird song and butterflies flying. And you see that there are other tents in the distance, and one very nearby as well. And you can hear a little bit of commotion, like 3 voices speaking softly. The sun goes down and there's a fire lit. You can tell that you're actually in a campground at night. And there's a sea of stars overhead. As you guys linger here a moment, Poltergeist is in front and he's kind of surveying the landscape. And then he looks over to the tent where you can see the outlines of the people inside, just their shadows reflecting from the fire. And then two figures step out together. Both of them are dressed very like, sort of like rich person casual in a weird sort of way, but like dressed for the outdoors, but maybe a little bit too neat still to be outdoors. Like they're still like dressed nicely. And they step out together, and you see a man who looks a bit like Jeremy, but with lighter skin and darker hair, and a woman who is holding his hand, who has lighter blonde hair and a darker tone to her skin than Jeremy has. She looks like she's probably like Greek, and they walk over to the fire together and they sit down where Jeremy is now, you see, a little bit older. About how old would you say he is here?
Come on, Ben. I'll say that he's like, I'll say like 13-ish. Just, yeah, around 13. Still a bit shorter than average for that age. But he's not like super scuffed up, but a little scuffed up. He's got like a Band-Aid over his cheek or something. He's got kind of that hard edge angst of someone going through puberty, middle school. Oh God. But yeah, he's just kind of sitting there.
I think he's kneeling in front of the campfire with his hands outstretched, but he's not trying to warm them. He's pushing, and the fire is flickering and flickering, or occasionally blowing up a little bit, but no shapes are emerging. And you see who you know to be your parents step forward. And I will ask you, as they approach you and they sit down next to you, do you, current adult Jeremy, have an outward reaction to seeing them?
Yeah, you'll see him like clench his jaw and his fists and take a sharp intake of breath.
Hermon will just put a hand on the back of one of his shoulder blades.
That's them. That's my parents. In case you thought I was kidnapped by strangers or something. It's like we're on one of our camping trips. We didn't go on them often, so they never really knew what to pack, what kind of clothes to bring with them. But it's always something fun that we tried to do.
Well, the scene doesn't seem to be stopping, at least not at the moment. So there's something else to this. This feels more. He sort of reaches down, he touches the ground a little bit, runs his finger across a tree, and he deliberately scrapes himself on a jutting piece of bark and watches the blood trickle out, and then rubs his thumb over it a little bit and closes the wound, but you still see the cut there. He goes, "It's getting more solid the deeper we go." And you hear Jeremy say, "It's no use, I can't control it." And you hear his father say, "Can't never did nothing. Here's the thing. You're starting too big. if you want to control, you have to start a little bit smaller and work your way up. You have to build this and this before we get here. And your mother kneels down to your level, and she runs her hand up the back of your hair and tussles it a little bit. She goes, look around you. What do you see? And then fluttering out up from the bushes are just dozens and dozens of fireflies. And you see that your father actually tosses a stone into the bush to agitate them so that they will all flutter upward. She goes, small sparks. Let's start there for a moment. And she steps back. The two of them actually step back, like behind and beside you, while you watch your younger self focus on this. You take a single ember from the fire, and it sparks up into a single firefly. And we see you from sort of, I think Poltergeist sort of moves around to see your face, because he's looking for what the secret is here, what you need to be doing. And he sees Jeremy smiling, reacting to this, and having like this moment. The fireflies are multiplying, and he's like loving it, but he's not looking behind him at what his parents are doing. But now you, for the first time, are seeing what your parents were doing in this moment. And you see them both with small, I think they're phones out, with like styluses, jotting down notes, taking things down, just watching. Your mother is smiling. They're both smiling.
I want to walk around to see if I can see what they're writing down.
You walk around to see what they're writing down, and it's like trying to read a book in a dream. It's not something you saw. It's not a part of your memory. So even though the idea that they were there doing this, knowing you didn't see it, it's like a part of you knew that this is what they were doing anyway, but you can't read the specifics because you don't know them. You never saw them. Poltergeist sees this in you, and he stands a little closer to you and he goes, do you need a moment?
Nah, it's just last one I needed to narrate what was happening, but this time it doesn't seem like that's the same pattern. Could take some ideas right now. Coming up a little blank.
Is anybody taking a look around? Or just watching the scene play out?
I think BB will. They can't see us, right? Like nobody acknowledges our presence once we're in the dream. Or the memory rather.
Mhm.
I'm gonna walk around and just see what's being written on the stylus if I can, or the pad.
Yeah, that you
Behind my
can't. There's
parents.
nothing because,
Got it,
like I
okay,
said,
sorry,
it was
because
in
he
the
didn't know.
memory. Jeremy didn't see it, so there's nothing there in the memory.
My bad. Sorry,
That's all good.
I lost that part. What would BB do then? I'll just look around at the forest to see if there's anything that we're not seeing.
Okay. So BB being the first to take this initiative here, you step forward and you're watching the scene, you're looking around, and the first thing that catches your eye is the buzz of the fireflies because it's getting louder. And you see that Jeremy has created a small army now. Like they're surrounding the space. And then you notice they're starting to congeal. They're starting to, instead of multiplying, come back together into a larger form. And BB, as you're standing there watching this play out, First of all, I want to ask, does BB have a reaction to seeing this scientific observation of parents? Is there an emotional reaction to this?
I do think that she has a flash of just all the time she's seen her mom, not writing on a, maybe on a data pad. They're on like their phones, right?
Mhm.
Her mom would have had like a laboratory data pad or note sheet, but this very clinical, far away look of a parent who's not invested in you, but who's just kind of a scientist making notes. So BB will go up to Jeremy and be kind of like, it's tough when all they care about is what you can do and not who you are.
Yeah. That and their Galaxy Note people. I mean, they're clearly the worst kind of human.
The ye
I don't
old
know what that
future
means.
galactic notebook phone brand. But BB, as you vocalize this feeling that you're having, and you're standing closer watching these fireflies beginning to congeal and grow into something larger, as soon as you vocalize that, it seems as though all of that buzzing, all of that attention, it turns, like heads turning to you. And all at once, they flare up in this blinding display, and standing in front of you is a fiery outline, not unlike the flickering shadows that you faced before, but made entirely out of flame and ember. And the outline, BB, is of you.
Thank God, I thought it was my mom. I've already looked myself in the eye plenty of times before.
I thought
And
it was your mom too.
Is it doing anything?
It's standing in front of you. It looks at everyone. And at first, it's like doing weird jutting mirror images of what you're doing, but like much more clipped and strange. And then it rushes forward straight towards you.
Oh, thank you.
It puts its fiery finger up and just shoots a version of your power out at you. But it's just like fire separating off from the finger towards you, mimicking in flame to the best of its ability what your power looks like. I'm going to ask you what you would normally roll for an attack with your power, because that's what's coming at you.
It's Dex, right? Yeah, it's Dex.
Yeah, dexterity. So your dexterity and a d12.
Yeah, which is 3 in the d12.
Okay.
Can I, at the same time, mirror her, put up my finger gun, and do a concussive blast so that the fire spreads over the concussive blast like a shield? Or like a bubble?
That's very interesting. Okay. I wasn't going to have us roll initiative for this encounter because reasons.
We don't have to.
But what we will do is I'll roll initiative between you and it to see if you can react fast enough to do an action at the same time like that.
Can I roll initiative for myself?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Initiative with it
Oh,
and
okay,
just
gotcha.
you
Yeah.
to see if you're able to act first or if you're going to have to make a dodge check.
Come on,
That was a
rollies.
Is it sum of the die plus Dex modifier or plus Dex?
And no, initiative is just the amount of die that you have in that, but you add up the numbers.
Yeah, 11.
11. Okay, how many die did you roll?
3.
3. Okay, so I roll a 9. So you actually can act first as it goes to shoot you. You can do something first.
But it's just a split second thing. Like I want it to be like we're mirroring each other and I'm using this less destructive power and kind of protecting my friends.
Cool. So we can make this be like, because it's going to do what it's going to do now, and it's going to shoot at you. And so if you shoot at the same time, instead of rolling a dodge check, I'm going to have you also roll your attack with that power, and whichever one rolls higher is the one that gets through. It's like two opposite, like tug of war in a way.
Heck yeah, let's do it. Let me find a D12. I'm holding a D12.
That wasn't hard. It was just off the books.
Oh, that's bad news bears. I only got 2 out of 4 counting the power die, which was not a success.
Okay.
4 total, including the power die.
I only rolled 2 as well. So what
Whoa.
happens is, I think, because of the nature of what we said here, there is no attacker and defender anymore. It became a simultaneous action. So in a moment like this, it becomes immovable force, unbreakable object, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Immovable,
Yeah.
you know the old chess.
I know you.
Right?
Yeah.
So your concussive force blasts out, and it knocks against this flame, and they merge in a strange sort of way, and sparks fly out in an arcing direction, creating this almost wall effect that then falls away. Sparks on the ground for a moment and disappears. In a fraction of a second that it took, it stops for a second, and then it looks over at Jeremy, and its form changes to that of Jeremy.
Jeremy's gonna try and just get rid of it. Just gone.
Like you're gonna try to control it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm gonna very specifically have you roll a willpower check on this one. This one's gonna be willpower.
5 dice, right? Yeah, that's 5
Yeah,
dice.
but with your power die still.
Oh, with my power die.
Yes, it's just this is will based instead of intelligence based, because this is very much you trying to assert your will over this creature.
The power dice did not succeed, but that is. Give me a second. 5 out of 6.
Let me ask you, what is your Constitution score?
3.
You have 3 in Constitution? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You said you got 5?
Yep.
Okay. I only got 4. So as it moves to try and attack you, you see it raising its hands to cast just like a ball of fire in your direction. Its form shifts. What is it that you want to turn it into? How are you trying to change its state of matter?
He'll just snap his fingers, and then it'll just into just kind of this lazy flow, even more fireflies.
So you turn it into fireflies. Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as it turns into fireflies, they scatter amongst all the other fireflies, and they all begin to glow together. And that glow brightens and brightens and brightens into another doorway. And Poltergeist, his eyes are wide, and he looks over at you and he goes, we're going now. And he like dives, well actually he doesn't, he stands next to it and is like,
You don't have to tell me twice, shit.
That's out of character. The solution to the puzzle was to try and turn it into fireflies.
Oh hell.
Really cool.
Drift.
I had a feeling.
Cool.
We really are drift compatible. What is this, like the 4th time that we've had?
Yep. Awesome. That could have been a longer encounter, but it was not. That's very, very exciting. So you all dive through because this one is closing faster. So as you each dive through and Poltergeist comes in last, you all find yourselves sort of belly flopping onto a hard, cold floor. A tile floor. I see that reaction.
Yep. BB's upsetty spaghetti.
And you know what, BB, you do, in fact, immediately before you even look up, something cold just strikes into your heart. You know where you are. You know this floor. You know the energy of being here. And in this moment, I need you to make a willpower saving throw to try and keep it together.
Is there an outward reaction as
with a willpower of 1, I'm sure there's an outward
People
reaction.
can try to assist. Someone can try to assist in some way.
I grab BB's hand, interlocking fingers.
Oh my! I'm gonna start crying actually right now. Does that mean I roll with advantage? So I'd roll 2.
Only if you think that if that's enough support for BB, if that would ground BB at all.
With Haremon, yeah, it absolutely is.
Okay, then that is what that means.
We're talking a 3 out of 2, baby. Technically 3 out of 1.
There is.
Well, do you want me to
Bailey?
just choose the higher, or do you want me? Oh, there's a 6 and a 4. So is this an advantage? I
That's an
don't know
immense
what we take.
success. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Bailey, this is a memory. We're not here right now. This isn't real.
She takes one really long breath in, and then lets it out. And before even looking at the room, just looks in your eyes. And she stands up, and after she stands up and is looking at you, then she finally looks around.
There is a moment where you all emerged into this room and the rest of you didn't even have time to really take in where you were yet. BB got there so quickly that for an instant, the moment that you do actually look around, it does start to like blink and you miss it, like something superimposed over it, like those old videos where something would just like subliminally flash on the screen really quickly. Many of you might not have even seen it. Poltergeist did. Haremon probably almost certainly did.
Remaster of Exorcist head ass.
You are in a huge, huge cafeteria. There is something strangely academic about it. For those of you who know where you are, considering that this is a military installation of some kind, or it's a government installation at least. But you see the PDP emblem emblazoned on the walls in various places, or on people's sweaters or hats. That familiar gear that you know that Jeremy wears. You see tons and tons of people from ages 13 to 18 conversing, chatting, eating lunch together, standing in the lunch line. A lot of them are like sweaty or look like they've just showered. There are cliques forming. It's noisy. But for that fraction of an instant, BB, what memory, what single image would have tried to superimpose itself over this moment before you had it together?
We're in a cafeteria, right?
Yeah.
I don't think BB often took meals in the cafeteria because she was just that isolated from the rest of the program. But I think the one time that she did, someone was like, what's so special about you? And just kept really digging her over and over and over again. And she beat the shit out of him. Like, went over the table and like really lost control in a way that was probably scary to a lot of people, and went in.
Okay.
Dude was hospitalized, let's say that.
So we see the same image. Even more reason why most people probably wouldn't have even noticed it, because there's just one area, one singular table in the room Haremon picks up on because it's where your eyes are fixed, where we see like the moment that BB has jumped over the table and something connects, and on the impact, like a single frame, it's just gone. We don't even hear the sound of it.
Whoa. She holds Haremon's hand a little bit tighter.
Yeah. And that moment when the handhold came, that was when that went away. It's like BB was that version of yourself was interrupted by that contact.
Hell yeah. We love our friends and we love growing as people.
Poltergeist looks to the two of you. It was a close call, but well done. Very well done.
It wasn't me. And she looks at Haramon and says, thank you. I wouldn't have been able to stop that by myself.
Good at compartmentalizing, so gotta pass that on to others.
That's
Pass
an
that skill
incredible
on.
response. Holy shit. That's Eric saying that, not BB. But I think after that, I think Baby does like smile a little bit and then keep looking around, make sure everyone else is here.
Okay. Yeah, how's Silhouette doing right now?
I think Silhouette's just confused. As am I. And it's just kind of like, I guess trying to let Phoebe and Jeremy have their like space.
Mhm.
Our weird government brat space.
Yeah. This is very foreign to Silhouette.
Mhm.
The experience of that setting. So yeah,
It's
I
true.
think
You're seeing a lot of like kids gathering places.
and more so just like kids gathering in, not so much like that being an odd thing, but like more so the government aspect of it, at least like it being so like privatized and strict, I guess. So I think she's just but also recognizes that this is like a very traumatic thing for them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Poltergeist looking around this massive, massive room. It's even got like an upper level to it. You can see other kids eating like up on the balconies, and you see some security just sort of positioned, not very discreetly, just in elements of the room, just watching, making sure everything's cool. Poltergeist turns to you, Jeremy, and he goes, well, I'm not going to ask you where we are, but this is a big place. Any idea where I should be looking?
Jeremy doesn't even answer. He just completely silently, kind of like slack-jawed, just kind of starts jogging to like the far back left corner on the lower level.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll go to one specific table in like the dark corner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that you guys are gonna follow him.
Oh yeah.
So we head over there. Sorry, did you want to continue?
Well, if you want to set the scene, then I won't.
Well,
stop
I was
you.
just going to say that we do see a table that is very familiar to you. There are other kids sitting around, but in that specific area, we see across the table from where we're standing, we see two other students dressed in that same outfit, those grays and blacks, the compression shirt kind of underneath where, more armor or padding would go. And these are two old friends of yours. If you'd like to describe them, you are totally welcome to do so. Otherwise, I'll jump in and...
Yeah, you see one of them is a dude, big, kind of buff, not extremely buff, just kind of that lean muscle where if you flex, then you get that shredded look. He's got like normal military cut hair and stuff, but you notice that like on the cuffs of his shirts or his collars and stuff, there's this like kind of like silken black thread that has been knitted in it to give it some kind of flash of personality. And sitting next to him is a girl. She's like 5'7", got like pink hair. On the trims of her clothes is like pink threading to give her a pop of color. She's much more loud. She looks like she's currently like halfway stepping on the table acting like it's like a rock in a Napoleonic painting or something like that, just loud and obnoxious. And the dude next to her is not as much of like a big open outward person, but he's definitely enjoying every second of it. They're just vibing.
So these two figures, they're seated across the table, they're laughing, they're having a conversation. They're having a conversation with an empty space. All their words, their eye contact, it's all directed at a place where you know you should be, but to your perception, no one is there.
I think Jeremy just instinctually just slides into where he always sat.
And as you sit there, you all watch him, I would say, de-age and change his outfit, his attire. But it's not gradual. It happens between blinks. And you see his eyes are less tired, his hair is a little more trim, and that hat, where once it was burned, now bears the full symbol of the PDP. And you're just sort of watching him have this conversation. And you hear the boy across the table sort of smack his hand on the surface of the table, and the force of it and him laughing is so hearty and powerful that the silverware like jostles and scatters a little bit. And the young lady that's sitting there, she goes, "Chris, you gotta calm down, man. It's not that funny." And he goes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jostle your berg, man, but like, did you see Baker trying to puff herself up in front of the sergeant? I mean, like, we don't have to kid ourselves anymore. We're all here for the same reason. I don't know what the fuck she thinks she's trying to prove, but every time that she pulls herself up, tucks her little shirt in, it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm being mean, but some people are a little too military.
Well, I don't think that you guys are going too far then. Did you hear about that one training incident? I heard that I heard they're up in the platforms, and instead of helping out her teammate, she just let him fall. And then get this, she didn't even complete it. I swear she'll do anything to win, anything to get her mom's attention.
Kat goes, I mean, when you put it like that, it makes it all seem kind of sad. I mean, hell, it doesn't excuse her being a bitch, but like, I don't know. You seen the way she looks at her? That's not love. That's something else.
Still, though, you can't just abandon the people around you, the people that can help you anyways. Like, if I were to do that to you guys, you'd kick my ass, I'll tell you that.
How's BB doing right now?
She knows that this is the reality of who she was and how people saw her. Like, she's not someone who fools herself, I don't think, that readily into being like, yeah, they liked me. There's no way that anyone at that program liked her. And she knows that. So I honestly think this is a moment, looking around at everyone, of her seeing how far she's come. I have this team. I have someone who I knew in this program who didn't like me very much in this moment, who kind of defended me, but overall didn't really care for me, is now, I live in a house with them. And we do fun things together, and we go on missions together, and we're both dedicated to the same thing. So I think that it hurts to hear all those things because she knows that is who she used to be. But then she's looking at where she is now.
That is so cool. And I think actually the opposite to what had happened before begins to occur. As Poltergeist starts to apply proximity to you, getting ready to sort of intervene, there's this warmth surrounding Bailey. And there's a spark down near her hands. Usually that would follow violence, or that would precede violence. But in this moment, it's like this golden thread. And it just weaves itself sort of up around your hands and out. And then it curls around your friends. And it curls around Jeremy. And as it does so, Jeremy, you're in the middle of a sentence when you come to and you realize where you are again. And you're stuck in this strange moment of, if you lean forward, you're in this moment. And if you lean backwards, you're not. You're yourself.
Where's Jeremy seated at the table? Is there a space next to him is the question.
Yeah, he's in like the middle of the bench.
And I think Bibi would just come sit down next to you. And much as you kind of like ribbed her in the first scene, she then ribs you back. And goes, yeah, I mean, I was kind of a bitch, but now I'm fully in your mind. So here we are.
Man, I remember. Strangely enough, I remember this day, which is strange because we did this every day. We'd get on the topic of one of the best of the class or something. We just pick fun, mock them, how they march in step, that sort of stuff. It's funny because today my training for the day, I think, was they just threw me in a room with some white phosphorus and told me to put it out. I miss it. I'd almost forgotten about them. And Bibi, I want you to know that I did believe all those things wholeheartedly back then. But God, you're such a good person now. And then he'll lean in and he'll be like, Chris, Kat, it's been fun, but I gotta go. People need me. And he'll try and get up and leave from the spot.
As you get up, that golden thread shimmering between all of you, you pull it taut. And looking up, you all see now that that thread has wound itself around this entire scene, like stitching. And as you get up and you pull it taut, you start to unravel something. And you see a bit of the scenery peel back like it's two-dimensional. And underneath it is a sound of struggle, muffled in the distance. And the more you pull on it, the more it peels back. Do you keep pulling?
Yeah.
You pull it and pull it and pull it. Poltergeist even begins helping as well to like peel it back faster, and the entire scene unravels piece by piece until there is a howling black abyss. And in the distance, the blurry outlines of Silhouette, Bang Bang, and Haramon fighting for their lives against something you can't see. Poltergeist instinctively moves like he wants to like race toward it. And as he starts to go, he holds himself back to make sure that you're all okay. He doesn't want to leave you. But he says, this might be it. What we came here for.
Are you sure?
I think so. I mean, we can't be entirely sure, but we made it through, didn't we?
Jeremy will say, but that doesn't make sense. I saw this after I was awake.
Well, I don't think whoever did this factored in other people. This is something underneath. This is something that was put here, layered here. It doesn't. And you see the stitching around it, and he begins to trace it with his fingers, and you see the stitches begin to pop and pop and pop. And you notice that it does look like a patch superimposed into everything else you've seen here, into your mind, into your memory, something that's not yours. He goes, this doesn't belong here. This wasn't a part of this. This connection, BB, whatever you just did, you opened this. And as you're having this conversation, it all just sort of melts away. Because in unpopping those stitches, it's now just integrated into your memory. So it's now we are seeing your memory of seeing this and not the raw information of it in your mind, if that makes sense. And now it's gone. And you are standing on grass. A cool wind blows. You look down a very familiar street to all of you, actually, because you've stood in this front yard before when you first met Freddy. And you see Freddy's house in the distance. And there's glow coming from the windows. It's sort of midday. The sun is pretty high. It's peaceful and quiet. Not a lot of people out and about, though. The only person that you see is someone unfamiliar to all of you. And he's just standing there in the center of Freddy's front yard. His head is sort of turned across the way, looking over at what was once your house, Jeremy, that in this moment is still standing. But then he looks back in your direction, and the look that he gives you is not one of perceiving you. He's just sort of looking vaguely in your direction. And you see someone who, by all accounts, is a teenager, 16, 17, but has the posture and the deep-set, tired eyes of someone who's had to grow up far too fast. With scraggly gray hair, even though he's young. Very scrawny. He's just wearing a dark gray sweater, some dirty pants, no shoes. And he's holding something behind his back. And as he looks in your direction, he begins to speak. All right, listen up, man, because I don't know how much time we have. I don't know where we are or who's doing this to us or why, but I know they're sending you back. It's part of their plan. Fuck, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. My name is Norman. I'm a telepath. There are others here too. I don't know how many. Kids with powers. Ones no one would miss. They've got us on ice somehow. They're studying us, using our powers somehow. But one of them feels, I don't know, different than the others. When they come around, it's like my powers wake up for a short time, and I can sense bits and pieces. The most recent being you. They're looking for some buried memory you have, something they don't want you to see. So I found it first. And I built this vault so they couldn't find it, locked it behind your memories, right under their noses. I hope. So here it is. Ta-da! And he pulls out from behind his back your walkie-talkie with that familiar secret compartment in the middle. It's currently closed. And he hands it in your direction. Again, not like he sees you, like this is a message that was left here. He hands it to you. It's solid. You can take it. And it feels like there's something inside rattling around. And his demeanor changes a little bit. And you see this kind of a frantic person. He goes, I won't hold out hope that this helps you find us. If you're seeing it, their plan is already in motion anyway. But even if all this is a piece of your mind, it's your piece. You seem like a good guy, Jeremy. In another life, we could have been friends. Well, smell you later. And he turns around and walks away. With every step, he just fades out more and more.
Classic Norman.
And you're all left standing here holding this robot. The scenery isn't changing.
Do you know who that was?
No clue.
Mm-mm. Poltergeist shakes his head too.
Look at Silhouette and Paramount. Any clue? No.
I don't know, but are you gonna turn on that walkie-talkie?
I think I'm going to try opening the compartment first. I'll just kind of carefully just kind of angle it up in case anything explodes out and just open the back of it.
You open the compartment, and inside, free floating in infinite space, is a single bead of light and a distant sound of footsteps on carpeted stairs. And as you get closer to it, the bead of light grows and grows. As you reach out to touch it, it envelops all of you blindingly, like something has broken through. It's like you've broken the sound barrier in a weird way, and it hurts your ears. And then silence. And you come through it and you look. Poltergeist is amongst you. Is everyone all right?
Yeah, for the most part.
It's very quiet here. And you look around and you're in a house. It's late at night. You can just sort of see darkness outside the windows. It's a modest place. And then you realize, looking at the architecture of it, all of you who are not Jeremy, you've been in here too. Jeremy, you know immediately where this is, but the rest of you are realizing that this is Jeremy's house. This is the house you fought Silencer in, but when it was still a house. And there are framed pictures of young Jeremy and his parents. You might see some paintings hung up on the walls. And you see Jeremy. He's about 11 years old in his pajamas, sneaking up the stairs. Jeremy, you don't remember this. I mean, you remember moments like this. But as you're watching, you see him go up the stairs and start to move down the hallway, like out of your sight. The poltergeist is like,
I guess I'll try and creep along with him.
sneak along. You follow him down the hallway to a door. And the door is locked. You don't get there in time to see what he did or how he did it, but it looks like he might have picked this lock a little bit. And as the door opens a crack, you feel a door open a crack in your mind, a vague hint of when this might have been in your life. Like popcorn just emerging into being in your brain, a single kernel of it. And you remember a time when your parents left for a couple months, left you in the care of maybe an uncle or family friend. And when they finally came back, they were a little different, a little somber, a little tense. And you remember them telling you, really for the first time in your life, very curtly to stay downstairs or go to bed, but that they had to have a private meeting. And you remember being old enough to question that for the first time. You remember being worried about them. Flurry of emotions that led you up the stairs to this moment. And as you all sort of crowd around, watching 11-year-old Jeremy listening, you peek through the door and you see a study. The large desk, huge painting of the woods behind your father's head. And your mother is standing behind him in the chair, and they're locked in a very intense conversation, and they're nodding. Mm. Across from them, facing away from you, sitting in front of the desk, you only see him from the back, but he's a figure who has a very straight-backed posture. He's wearing a deep, dark brown suit. Dark blonde hair going gray on the sides that's slicked kind of off to the side, almost like a 1940s kind of a style. And his hands are sort of resting like this, but you don't see his face. You only hear his voice as he's speaking to your parents. And you hear him say, "I understand that you're hurting. What you did for Dr. Baker cannot be undone. But it doesn't have to be in vain. If you work with me and my associates, pass on what you hear, what you learn. Together we will build the world that Alma could never." And in that moment, you see young Jeremy trip, make a sound, just a slight creak of the door. And your father sits up in his chair, rushes to the door between you and the man, completely blocking him out, whoever he was. He opens the door just wide enough to stand in the way. And he says, "Jeremy, I thought I told you." And you hear that voice cut in behind him again. "It's all right, Dr. Johnson. It's quite all right. You've raised a fine, noble young man. Far too noble to ever dwell on the secrets of his parents. Isn't that right, my boy?" And you feel this smooth voice, full of power and purpose. It runs cold through your veins. The door closes in front of you, leaving you out in the hall. And then the entire memory fades and dissolves away, just like it did the first time. Only this time, you remember it. And as it dissolves away, you all groggily emerge Dr. Mary is already up, checking you all one by one. Pantheon is close behind. Seems like it's been maybe an hour or two, judging by the state of the light outside. You all feel pretty sluggish. Dr. Mary is saying something, but Jeremy, to you, it's the ringing in your ears, some residual effect left over from this. Pantheon looks to you, all of you, but deliberately back on Jeremy. How bad is it?
It's horrible. Doesn't answer any of my questions. And he'll get up and he'll walk to his room and close the door.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I would have liked to do a little checkup afterward, but that's fine. He seems fine. The rest of you?
Doing fine.
Right.
Silhouette grabs the closest wastebasket and vomits.
Pantheon rubs your back.
Yeah.
Aw.
And
I needed that.
Dr. Mary goes, right, Poltergeist, Link, maybe we should leave them to it. First thing tomorrow, check in. Need to make sure there are no lingering effects, that you've come through it all right. You seem fine. You did well. I didn't see any of it. So, night, Pantheon. And Pantheon sort of side hugs her and pats her on the back a little bit. Catch up later. I got it. She leaves. As Poltergeist is leaving, he stops and he turns back and he goes, tell Jeremy I said that I'll be around if he needs anything.
Yeah, of course.
And you too, I mean.
Thank you.
Link goes, good night, everybody.
Do you want a water for the road?
No, I'm okay. Thank you. Good luck. They leave.
Should we check on him? No. Okay.
I just turned to Pantheon and like through hands rubbing up and down the face, just say his parents were in deeper shit than we thought. So he's gonna need a minute.
Right. Well, you can walk me through what you saw. I don't want to try and push it. If you want to tell me tonight or tomorrow with Fortress, or me first before Fortress.
Silhouette lifts her head out of the trash can and says, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Hey, I didn't see any of it, but I can only imagine it was thrilling display of heroics, and you know, you guys have been very kind welcoming him. So see you guys later.
Good night.
She leaves. And we sort of carve a path through this tension. Almost like that golden thread is still lingering somewhat between you. It's pulled taut all the way up the stairs and under the door crack into Jeremy's room. And we find him doing what?
So during his time there, I imagine that he kind of hooked up to his ceiling like different cork boards. He's got like 6 that he can set up that he can just kind of pull down. And he pulls down the 5th one that's completely blank, and he'll just grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and he'll just, like 3rd grader with a crayon, just write down in scratchy, angry letters, "Who is the man?" and just punch it in the center. No lights on, just a bird with wings like shattered glass sitting on a perch, and he'll just sit on his bed and just stare at it, cold and angry.
And as you do, we pull closer and closer to that fire as it burns hot, never burning itself out, just deeper, more red and angry, until it engulfs the panel and leaves us with blackness. That's what we'll pick up next time. Oh boy.
Woo! We did it.
Well, guys.
We went into your
What a-
brain.
What a
Oh
game.
God.
Jeremy's Bean
What a
episode.
game.
Jeremy's
Poltergeist
Bean.
bled in
got
my
freaked.
brain, guys. That's like a
Yes.
way to spread disease or something.
When you have somebody else's brain aneurysm.
Oh God.
Tune in next time for a deeper exploration, perhaps, of the question, who is the man?
Who is the man?
And
Who's
what
the
is the
man?
man?
Is the man.
Thank you, guys. Keep it super. We'll see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, we all know she's the man, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amanda Bynes? Yeah.
Yeah.